Hello and welcome everybody back to round two of the faux 2015 co-op season that you can't really have here in Malaysia for round two of the championship. Myself is Bulkenburg, and alongside me as always is the Esteben, and we are ready for McLaren Honda joys again.
Buenos dias. They need some bloody joy today. Last race didn't go quite to plan as well, did it? So fingers
Such
crossed.
promise.
Yeah.
Such promise, such unfold.
Shall we go straight to it?
Let's dance.
So I've not been looking forward to this track actually, which is normally, like, historically, it's my best performing track.
Really?
Yeah. If you look back at our old seasons,
I remember having a ding dong here with you last year.
you did in the rain. That was a good race for me actually, all things considered. But of course the AI wasn't suicidal, so. Um, at least it's dry.
Oh, I'm still loading. That shows how good your performance of your computer is there.
Well, it needs to perform good in one way because, between the comedy USB ports and the headphone jack button that restarts the computer, it's kind of all over the place.
Oh dear. Yeah, it is a bit. It sounds like your PC's a bit suicidal as well.
It's giving me a bit of grief, but nothing on the old machine. So what I can tell is it is super, super hot and sunny, but obviously you never know with this track if that's going to last.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I'm not looking forward to this one, and especially not the next one,
Yeah.
is all the high-speed corners and the high-speed corners at China, and in this case, it's the hard braking zones ahead of the sharp corners.
Yeah.
It's just gonna bumfuck my tires. There's no other word for it, and it's kind of gonna be a problem. It's kind of gonna, which means almost definitely maybe. Have
Yeah.
you have done this track right on your single player?
Yes, and actually, I have to say, I it's been one of my more competitive joys, mainly because I seem to have got Sector 1 down to a T. The other two, then I start to fall away from everyone. But I don't know what I'm doing down at Sector 1. It must be the way how I take turn 1.
You
Um,
can gain a lot of time in turn one against the old AI, but I'm not so sure with the new AI, given that they have no will to live.
no
Um,
fucks to give.
yeah. There's a beginnings of a really bad rap song there.
Me and my
We'll
bodywork.
we'll pen that down later. So I see you've elected to stay in for the moment.
I am. Oh, I'm just on my way out now. Are you already on? Oh, let's go and have a quick on sesh with yourself then, just whilst it's busy. Oh,
I'm dropping a few frames for fun, and I'm going to use this sweeping corner in a minute to turn down my fuel. And I'm really going to cruise around because I'm so scared of the tire problem that's inevitably going to develop.
so yes, well clear of the apex. Oh, bad curve. And actually, just quickly on the game before we dive onto the F1 stuff, they've just stuck a new patch out for PC and for PS4 version. The PS4 version gives you that menu that that has been constantly missing from the PS4 version on the right hand side, so that you can actually see, yes, I'm screwing up my tyres by going on the curbs, which was the biggest takeaway I took from Melbourne when you said that. I was like, yeah, it would be good. Um, and it's supposedly on both PS4 and PC version fixed an issue that Mana Marussia never changed tyres in certain situations to from wets to dries and dries to wets, which would have been quite interesting. And also the desync issue, which was what we actually had.
On our LOL edition, yeah, we had
Yeah.
a desync issue. I am tiptoeing around like a fool, and the heat in my tires is still mental. I'm having trouble staying off the curbs. And while you were talking,
Yeah.
Jeffers came on the radio
Friendly
and
Jeff.
says to me, listen up, dickhead. You need to be super smooth around this lap because you will lose a lot of the performance of the tyre on the next lap if you don't. So I don't know if they've patched him as well, but I found him even more insightful than usual this morning.
Oh. Unless he just had some Cheerios.
Maybe he's just in a good mood. Maybe the divorced Asian man's divorce has finally gone through and at last they can all sort of move on from that grey chapter of their lives.
Wow. Actually, in fact, Token Asian, I noticed, was seems to have been demoted to front right wheel whenever I seem to be racing at the moment.
Well, good, the bastard needs to cheer up. My tyres are overheating already. I'm on like fucking turn 6 or something and it's already overheating. But I suppose
yeah.
it is imitating real F1, right? In that, the drivers are actually feathering the throttle most of the way around.
Yeah, which is it's an interesting way of going racing, I would say. And it's good that they have imitated it in a way, because I think what it showed for us in our first race, and what I've seen all the way through in my single player running in the PS4, which I will start again essentially so that it can be transferred over to this channel, is that you can't go 100%.
No.
and that as a gamer is really difficult to deal with.
Well, it is because, your instinct is always to drive every lap like a quali lap. This is a fucking terrible lap, by the way. Absolutely terrible lap.
See, now I've gone too far the other way, and he's just told me, warm your tyres up, you twat.
I see. I wonder if it's because I had a bit of a practice this morning in the wet, and I dicked around with my camber settings to try and deal with... I was having a rear-end grip problem. And again, being super insightful, Jeffrey Oldbean pops on the radio and says, listen, what you need, my son, is a bit of negative camber on those old rear tyres. Or a bit of extra downforce.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to him, and he was right. But now it means I am really chewing up my fronts.
Yeah, see, camber's something that I play around a lot with in my other sim racing exploits, normally in R Factor, because it's the one where I can reduce, along with tyre pressure, some of the tyre wear without losing too much of the efficiency of the grip. I feel like I'm mega cruising around this lap. Probably because I'm like, save the tyres, but there's nothing to save it for on a quali lap. Oh, hello.
I also despise this pit entrance.
Yeah, because you're never quite sure where to go in.
So let's see what it's like in the dry.
That tells a tale of a wet off.
Yeah. Well, no, believe it or not, I didn't hit the barrier, but I did get a penalty for exceeding track limits.
Oh, what?
Do you know, that lap where I just pit in, I was less than a second slower than my qualifying lap, which tells you how bad that qualifying lap was.
Well, I've just driven like a fucking donkey.
Don't worry, we've made 4 seasons out of that so far. Seems we're right on similar pace, though.
Are we?
Yeah, 12th and 13th.
I think there's a couple of seconds between it, though.
Is there?
I think, I'm not sure.
They're still plugging my tyre blankets in. Let's see. There is 1.4 seconds. But that'll just come tumbling off, trust me. I'm going to silence my mic for a moment because I need to sneeze.
Amazing. That's your ers.
No, like the rest of my morning, it's just impotent frustration. I thought it was coming, it never did. So I suppose we should Oh god, I've taken 9% out of my tyres. Bollocks. Um, wow, actually, you lose a tenth on that 3-lap run. Like the lifespan of your tyres?
Yeah.
Hmm. Right. I do wonder actually, could I... It's probably not worth trying to qualify faster on primes, I don't think. But I'm definitely not going to be as competitive as I have been historically. So, yeah, primes are 1.2 to 1.4 seconds a lap slower.
Wow.
Yeah, so before we dive into real F1, which is really what we're here for, I suppose,
Yeah.
I just want to apologise for the lack of activity over on my regular YouTube channel. But like every good schoolboy, I have excuses.
Yay. Where's your
Multiple
cat
excuses.
or
Well,
dog?
actually, like last week was really difficult going on my actual job. I
I
ended
feel you.
up with visitors as well, and I'm still sick. It comes and goes. But I was committed that this weekend was going to be a weekend O video drama. And I get out of work yesterday. I came back and I recorded an episode for my RimWorld series,
Yeah.
about 35 minutes long. It wasn't great because I was feeling terrible, really, really exhausted. You know when you have just an off day and your ability to present anything just goes completely to bollocks? It was one of those days.
Mm-hmm.
But I was more keen to just get it done and get back into the schedule as I oversteer around that corner. And then that is still now processing with YouTube, like, I don't know, 12 or more hours after I recorded it.
I hate it when YouTube does that. And it's such a random thing as well.
So it's still not actually available to watch. And then this morning I tried to do 2 videos before recording with you. And get off the curbs, Ben, get off the curbs. And my Grand Prix World video went fantastically. I qualified Pedro Diniz in 3rd, and
What?
then the game crashed.
No!
So the video again is completely like I can put the video up, but I don't see why I would because everything that happened in it no longer exists. And to be honest with you, I'm really considering the future of that Let's Play because the game's so unstable, and like putting that video together took me about an hour and a half,
Yeah.
and that's time just completely gone. It's just completely gone. Like I have to redo it for a 3rd time now. And that's going to be a continual problem, I feel, going like down through the series.
Yeah, yeah.
Next, I wanted to do a look at Star Citizen because this is the first time I've had a machine capable of running it, and I've dropped a serious amount of money into that game because I forgot I was an adult. And I wanted to look at, is it worth it? Like, am I getting my money's worth? Spoilers, the answer is no, but it's the interest comes from what those reasons for that are, which now you won't know because they deployed a massive patch again this morning. And so I have not been able to record that because it's going to take something like 4 to 5 hours to install the patch. And for a game with essentially nothing in it, that's a bit of a piss take. And so now here we are together doing the F1s. And that's hopefully going to be the one thing that goes correctly today, except for the fact that I've just done my first sector and I'm half a second slower than last time. Monkey balls.
Super monkey balls. Although you are 6/10 faster than me at the moment. I'm faster than you in Sector 3, but you're beating me in 1 and 2.
That's weird because I'm terrible at Sector 2.
So I'm just watching on board with yourself. So are you custom setuping?
I am. I've basically taken the one to the right approach of you.
Okay.
And balls the line to that corner. And then to that, I've added a negative camber setting on the rear tyres. I believe it started at negative 3.2 and I've put it up a notch.
Okay.
I've not toyed with the downforce because, to be honest, I think putting more downforce on the car on a track like this is a real double-edged sword. Apparently, my screen is claiming I'm 42 seconds slower in Sector 3 than I was on my best lap, which
Your
feels a little bit harsh.
your sector 3 was 42 seconds. I wonder if that's got itself confused
Yeah.
somewhat.
It just said red plus 42. So now I need to cruise in, and I have to hope I can. I'm. Oh, yeah, actually, I can't improve because I'm going to need 2 sets of fresh options for the race.
hmm
I have ballsed it, and I can't seem to get off the curbs. How's it going for you, Cocker?
I was just watching you divey round. 4 minutes left of the old quali to go, so I'm going to go out for my final run. Sandwiched between some Mauritius is not exactly where I thought I would be, but there we go.
Well, do you know, I qualified 7th on this track in the rain this morning with this setup, so 14 is a little bit of a kick in the pants.
Yeah, and there are some drivers yet to do a time. So at the minute, I think we are actually 17th and 19th in real
In real
layman's
terms.
terms.
Oh, the familiar clutches of 17th position.
Every year.
Every year the same. What's interesting is I've damaged my brakes as well, so that's fun.
Oh,
Like that's showing up yellow on the damage meter, not on the temperature meter.
interesting.
I also blistered my first set of options. This set of options I've tanned by being on the curbs when I shouldn't be, and it's that really dodgy. I think it's turn 14, the really dodgy right-hander before the second to last straight.
Yes,
That
I'm never
just
quite sure where to take that after many years.
no, I still can't get that corner and that dodgy one at Bahrain. I can never get correct, and I never will. I never will. Well, looking at it, it's time for some real F1, and we're in the midst of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Daniel
Yeah.
Ricciardo had another Renault blowout
Yes, that's
uh,
quite spectacular.
in practice. But what I really want to talk about before we dive into much else is Sergio Perez's massive, massive accident.
Yeah, and how he managed to bounce over his own tyre.
Yeah, a bit mental that, isn't it? And of course that's brought back talk of closed cockpits. I'm still, for me, the jury is still out on closed cockpits.
Yeah, as a tradition, I always feel like as a traditionalist, I sound a bit of a wanker, but isn't like it's a bit like where they're talking about, well, how can we not have open wheeled racing? Open wheeling seems to imply open cockpit too,
It does. It
but I
does.
don't know if that's just me being like presumptuous or not.
I mean, the other thing, of course, is that when I think of it, I just think I'm just watching Lewis get completely held up on his fast lap by a Marussia.
Yeah,
Amazing.
look at me now stuck.
I'm coming to find you. There you are. Oh yeah, you were stuck behind both of them. Nice. When I think of closed cockpits, I always think it's something that sounds a good idea until someone gets trapped upside down. And if you
Yeah,
look
there's
at
a fire or something.
Perez's accident, he wouldn't have been able to get out of the car on his own.
No, and I just think you've got you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, because um, sit it should be for me.
I saw that. That was bullshit. Like I know people say like they've just made the AI more aggressive and you need to account for that, but that was beyond aggressive.
Right, I've got one more go. What a wanker. Right, follow the Swede, get the toe, get the toe. No, for me, the whole closed cockpit versus open cockpit, make the cars slightly taller, put so much emphasis on that roll hoop being capable, and that will stop you potentially hitting your head. And of course, head injuries with the unfortunate death of Bianchi, and you can also argue still Maria de Vallota,
Hmm.
that it would that everyone's like extra jumpy, um, which I guess you should be. Obviously, it's a very difficult subject to kind of comment on, but it's for me. You're right. As soon as you're trapped in a car, all that takes is for a fuel line to go, and then you've got a Paletti problem where like you can't get someone out of a car and it's catching fire or something like that, and you're roasting someone. So you're damned one way and you're damned the other way.
Well, I mean, the other problem, of course, is that drivers get hot enough on the high temperature tracks as it is that they're
Yeah,
losing a lot of body weight. I mean, you're going to basically be putting them in an oven because the sun's going to be coming through presumably glass
yeah,
or, you know,
or
safety
perspex.
glass, I guess. And plus also, who's to say that having a closed cockpit would have saved either of those lives?
Yeah,
They both
because
they both went at face level into something incredibly hard. I mean, surely whatever was in front of them would have broken.
yeah, and as another thing, um, what happens when something does break? Oh God, that was really bad drop off of time.
I think it's probably because of your tires. You're in 10th. Am I reading that correctly?
No, it couldn't be.
No, we're 17th and 19th. You called it. Nicely done.
Well, hey, there was so much potential for more. I was being a pussy ass, and it wasn't until I put a lot of a lot of jangle in my last lap where I had no tires. Never mind. Um, but that whole thing about glass or perspex or whatever you would use for a closed cockpit brings me on to remember Justin Wilson.
Yes.
And well done for out qualifying me by a second, by the way.
Thank you very much. I didn't expect that to happen.
No, well done, that man. Looks like we'll be back. You may grab onto the tailcoats of everyone else. I'll be playing Battle of the Marussia. And no one got a penalty for bashing my bollocks. That annoys me.
Yeah, your bollocks should remain unbashed. I think that's something everyone in this sport can agree on.
I'm glad that there is a consensus on this. Maybe they should put that on the latest FIA survey.
There's a bollock consensus.
Yeah, whose bollocks should be bashed? Um, Justin Wilson was talking about the fact that people don't go to oval racing anymore, and what could you do to make it better or more safer? Because you did you see the massive accident? I've forgotten which driver it was that actually flipped up and into the catch fence and nearly went through it because he went over it.
Yeah, I did see that actually. That was NASCAR, right?
Yeah. And what Justin Wilson was trying to say was for IndyCar and for NASCAR, um, is there any way that you can actually have everyone sat on the inside of the oval and not the outside, and effectively sheet metal up the outside of each oval so that you could never have the opportunity to um, go up and flip someone? And if you'd done it in like a dome style, if you did ride up it, it would be like futuring, so you'd ride up with the potential to spin back down
I
into the inside again.
actually really like that idea. I think what's going to stop it working
Money.
is that if you move the crowd from the outside of the track to the inside, you immediately see a significant reduction in capacity.
Yeah, yeah.
And given how well spectated those races were until quite recently, they're probably going to be reluctant to do that. They probably see it as just a bump in the road. I mean, the problem for me with oval racing is it's boring as all balls. It just is boring. I'm not going to stand here and say it requires no skill because patently that isn't true, or else anyone could do it. But the skill it requires is, I suppose it's kind of like with these F1 cars. Like a lot of skill goes into driving them, but to watch them go around, you wouldn't really necessarily think so. It's not like, you know, in the 80s and 90s where you saw them fighting with the car around a corner.
Mm.
The skill on display is not easily visible.
Yeah.
And I've never taken to oval racing. That's just me. But, at the end of the day, safety should always come first. And it's hard to argue with the logic there because the cars are not really going to very often come with such ferocity into the infield as they are to the outfield.
Mm-hmm.
What strategy are you taking?
I'm flipping. I can't decide whether I should start on the options or the primes whilst everyone's pack racing.
I'm thinking I'm going to do the Esteben Classic contra-strategy, and I actually think you should do the same on the basis that I feel we're out of position. I know reality probably disagrees. I'm glad that tickled you, mate.
I love that.
But
you have.
I do feel like we're out of position. Like you felt you had more to give on that quality lap. I felt I could have strung together a better lap easily, and I qualified much higher earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking maybe just my frustration and not being fresh has caused me to sort of balls my quality lap. But a slip up on 1 or 2 laps is less likely to hurt you over a race distance than obviously it will in quali. So I'm gonna go contra-strategy anyway.
When does it want to stick you in then for your first stop?
If I go switch to fresh
11,
primes,
12.
I'll be pitting 11 or 12.
Okay.
And then I will be pitting 2021.
Okay.
Do you know what's really interesting? I watched our first episode back the other day, and if you look at the tyre strategy, and we said it didn't really make a difference, it actually genuinely didn't really make a difference, because if you look, for some reason, it was putting us on primes and options for identical lengths of time.
Yeah.
Where in this case it isn't, but for that race, it genuinely didn't seem to make a difference, so you might as well have just, if it wasn't for the stupid rule that says you have to have both compounds, you would have just stayed on the option the entire time.
Yeah. Right, I'll join you in the contra as much as...
Nice. We've never had a double contra strategy before.
I don't think we have. Right, let's get the Schnauzer on the go.
This is where our ability to present goes completely out of the window, because we don't want an accident. I've not tried messing with my brake balance on this one either.
Let's not do it down in turn 1. Oh, massive issues with a Lagalicious.
I braked there to avoid that accident, and he ghosted.
Was that Maldonado?
No, it was Verstappen.
Oh, I just had exactly the same problem with a Red Bull.
I've really dropped down because it's just not safe to overtake in those conditions. Good to see the massive accidents have already begun. Right, I'm faster than all you bitches.
Oh dear, it's like dragging a tank through. I see there's a yellow flag out. Is that hopefully not you?
Yeah, Mary went off in front of me.
Oh, okay. How many is Merry Men? Well, I'm 12th on my contra, so I can start holding everyone up.
I've broken my brakes again.
What?
Yeah, something isn't right, and they're now orange rather than yellow. I don't know if you can actually have a brake failure. Have you heard of that?
No.
Okay, right. Now, Ben, now you need to focus and string together some good laps, because the pace actually isn't that bad on the primes, is it?
Not yet. My car is pulling to the left slightly because of the ghosting Red Bull that just appeared on my front wing.
Oh, so have you lost a bit of your wing?
I think so. Now I've got Loldonado. Oh,
So
that
the
was
weather's gonna
entirely
stay
my
good.
fault.
I do find I'm thinking a lot more in this game. It's not my strong suit.
That yellow flag was me, but I was still going forward. It's okay.
I'm stuck behind Stevens.
More yellows.
Which will be the title of my autobiography out in August.
Um, unlike Fabio Lima, who was back in an F1 car yesterday for FP1.
Who's that?
Fabio Lima took over the Mary's Marussia, I think it was.
Is this a sign that we're finally going to see the end of Mary?
I think they're really, really desperate to 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 get our long-haired Robin Hood friend out of it. Well, not desperate, but his start line accident at Austria, I think, said a lot.
Cast a shadow over things for him, you think?
It was a really stupid thing to do.
Well, you mean you wouldn't expect it of someone that's allegedly in the top flight?
Yeah.
It's just not something that you'd expect.
And he's not winning at that bottom. Oh, fuck off, Ericsson.
I saw you rotating on the apex of the corner there.
Oh, and Stevens has just gone through me.
And that's after you can't make it to the pit entrance, right? If you're damaged.
No. I think I'm okay.
I think they need to really look at the AI.
They drive as if you're just not there in certain conditions. In other conditions, you can see them actually reacting to you, but it's just so inconsistent.
Now, what do you think of Lima Bean? I'm not familiar with his work.
So he was 2013 GP2 champion, but made more famous for his absolute choke and stumbling across the line as the champion in 2013, because the first half of the year he practically won everything, and then the second half of the year he couldn't have scored points if he tried. Reminds me very much of Button in 2009, where like you had a definite first and second half of the year,
and then it all went to shit.
Yeah, but he still managed to drag it across the line as champion, beating like Naza, who's there now, Ericsson, that's there now, and we'll get onto them, I'm sure, in a bit with their latest news. And so he's clearly talented. I don't know what he'd done for 2014, but it's another one of those I've just got a GP2 championship, but there's nowhere for me to go situations. So I could see him potentially doing or getting another few free practice sessions with the view to maybe getting him in towards the end of the year at Manor, if his budget's right.
You see, he sounds like someone who'd be a perfect candidate for new F2.
New F2?
Yeah, the new F2 series that's being prepared. You know, something that's a lot more F1 relevant.
Yeah.
Because I don't know enough about him, obviously, but it sounds like he could probably be a passable addition to F1. No caveat, no. But do you know when a driver it could be passable, but it probably needs a bit more seasoning?
Yeah.
And that's exactly, for me, what we need F2 for. Because GP2 at the moment isn't doing the job because the cars are so fundamentally different from current F1 machinery.
Mm-hmm.
And some will argue, they're almost faster, and probably they are, but that's not really the issue. The issue is how they behave and handle in different situations.
Well, yeah, because they don't have any of this electronic gubbins. I still rue slightly the fact that they've now got DRS, because I can't really argue that that's improved the show on GP2 at all. And I really enjoy GP2 and I really enjoy GP3. And as much as I really, really like those series, that's still gearing towards a non-hybridy turbo formula.
Yeah. Before we go on, how's your tyre wear?
Let me just check after turn 2 because I have a Merry Men shoving his nose cone everywhere. Bright yellows on the rears. The fronts are okay.
I'm the complete opposite way round. I'm going to try knocking my brake balance to the rear. And I guess you should brake balance front, but that's probably going to cause you to lock.
Closing you down as well.
You are. I'm having trouble.
Having a bit of trouble.
I am troubled. As if that was ever in doubt. So with that in mind, and while we're on GP2,
yeah,
you might have seen Eric Booyah as I go massively wide. He's come out and said that McLaren would welcome GP2 teams in F1 as customer teams.
Oh. I hadn't seen that.
Now, for me, of course he would, because it's a chance to sell his car, but I welcome GP2 teams in F1, provided they were building their own car.
Yeah.
Like, I have no interest whatsoever in seeing them drive around in someone else's machinery. I mean, what would be... I made a really good argument at the end of last season for customer cars.
Yes.
And I recognise it's a good argument, but something about it I've decided just feels fundamentally against the DNA of F1. And if these teams are as capable as he seems to believe they are, then surely they should be capable of getting themselves into a position where they can compete.
Yeah. Although it might be more about the capability of the finance director to try and get the budget.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, yeah, and like so many of them now are affiliated with a team. My commentary is going to go to shit now because that was a bit cutty zark. There we go. So like Trident are essentially Force India rebadged. A few years ago, I'd have argued why the hell aren't Arden in Formula One, because they were kicking everyone's ass and they were a proper team, but they've kind of had a bit of a doldrums. Caterham had a GP2 team.
Caterham barely had a Formula One team though.
Yeah, I know. The Caterham Formula GP2 team, I think, was faster than the Formula One team.
Oh, nicely done. I'm coming back at you though.
Why? Oh, I've got DRS though. That was cheeky squirrels.
Oh! This is what I wanted though. I wanted us racing.
Over 16.
Did you turn into me or did I swing out?
I'm not sure. I think it might have been 50-50s.
Oh, well, if it's a racing incident, I won't feel too guilty. We'll let the stewards decide in the comments. Oh, I am sorry.
No,
you've put all that work into...
I will get back to you, my friend. I will get back to you.
Well, the way things are going with my tyres, you will catch me.
Yeah, because I'm yellow and orange now.
Oh, I've been running on lean as well, which doesn't help.
Oh, I'm just normal. With a +2.
We are miles away from the cars in front.
Yeah, this has not.
To be honest, though, I knew this track was going to be very, very weak for me, and I'm expecting the same in China, just because...
Engine for China. Get raped down the straight in a McLaren. Having done McLaren at China already.
And also, like...
Oh my god.
Right, apparently my fuel level's looking great, which of course it would be, because I've been on fuel saving mode for ages, but my tyres are completely boned. Yeah, I mean, was it ART or Arch,
Yeah.
whatever you call them, that looked into actually coming to F1 and then said, no, that makes no sense.
Yep.
So maybe, maybe they're a candidate to graduate to F2 as well, one that can sort of move into the world of F2 as a springboard for F1, so the gulf between the two doesn't seem so huge.
So, what is the kind of overview of what F2 provides then? Is it going to be you just buy the chassis, but it's more relevant to F1 with technology?
I believe so, yeah. Although I think some stuff's still being worked out. The main thing for me was to have a feeder category to F1 that is F1 relevant, which we haven't had since the introduction of the hybrid engines.
Hmm.
I mean, is it GP2 that are still using Mechachrome engines from like the mid 2000s?
I think so, yeah.
It's time for the junior categories to move in. And I guess it's maybe been part of cost control that they haven't
Yeah.
adopted advanced technology. And so F2 is kind of a way, sort of F1 light, which is what it should be.
I'm so hoping that wasn't screen tearing that I just had, but I thought I saw rain down at the double right.
To be honest, rain would probably play into my hands.
It would be fab right now. It really would. But yeah, I'm sure they are still on Mechachrome engines, and they only get like a new chassis every couple of years, obviously as well, because it's the costings of here's a new chassis you need to buy.
I'm just going to be watching F2 very closely, to be honest.
Hmm.
I think its heart's in the right place. I think it's something that's going to be necessary, and I want to see it succeed. Oh, one of the Marussias is in the pits.
Merry.
And there is a yellow flag somewhere.
Verstappen's closing us up quite quickly.
Well, he would, wouldn't he? I mean, his car's vastly superior.
I'd forgot he was last.
I'm glad that he's last.
Me too.
So, we said we were going to talk real F1, and actually we mostly talked junior categories there. Daniel Ricciardo came out in the news and said that he's not heard anything more about a potential move to Ferrari, and that he doesn't believe Red Bull will take the option to run Renault engines next year. Now, that ties into the story that came out that they've decided that Renault Sport F1 classes as a historic team, as it should do.
Yes.
And that they would actually receive financial incentives to take part in F1 as a works team. Now, at the end of the last episode, we talked quite a bit about how Ron Dennis in particular believes you can't win world championships without a works engine supply, and at least I was inclined to agree with him.
Yeah.
What options are there for Red Bull? All that in mind, bearing in mind they probably want to keep Ricciardo. He doesn't want to stay if they have Renault engines. Renault are very likely to enter as a works outfit. I really do see it happening now.
Yeah, and with Lotus, I can see that being.
Yeah, that's the word on the street.
Which was Renault anyway, before it became Lotus.
Yeah, and that would be the team I'd buy into, to be honest.
Yeah, especially if it says clear my debts, plus.
And the Aston Martin Mercedes deal is rumoured to be going to Williams or Force India. So that rules Red Bull out of that. Unless they can tempt another engine manufacturer in, they're not going to have a works engine supply.
No. Unless there's this whole build your own, which I know has been rumoured a bit as well.
Has it? I've not heard anything about that, about Red Bull building their own engine.
Yeah. I think Sky F1, and I think of all people, Eddie Jordan's been talking about it as well. In their post-race stuff about where do they go. And he's been saying it for a few races now that there's been rumblings about, do they build their own engine? Who would they then bring along with them? Because I don't think Toro Rosso would necessarily come, although it would make sense for them to do it. Are you pitting this lap, by the way?
No, I'll try and last one more.
Okay. I'll come in this one.
Go for the undercut, Simon. Add a bit of drama.
Okay. I'm on it.
I don't see why they would bother to make their own engines. I mean, historically, if you're not an engine manufacturer by trade or a car manufacturer, it has never worked.
No, and it would be, they would need some teams to go with them to. Oh, hang on.
I mean, that's what killed Arrows, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's just telling me that I've now practically destroyed my tyres. All right then, mate. I'm on my way in. Yeah, it was what took Arrows down essentially, was just how much money that took. But it's, if they, again, they had no one go with them. So if they could get, I don't know, Sauber to go across, or Manor. It depends on how much they charge, what they could go with. It's
I suppose
interesting.
Mana could be an option because they're not getting the same level of support from Ferrari that Sauber is.
No.
Although that comes into question with Ferrari's relationship with Haas.
Yeah. Yeah. And they do seem to be Haas to the revenge. Sorry, Ferrari to the revenge.
Yeah.
And maybe Sauber may get rougher treatment if Ferrari chase the American dream. And then would they want to go across? There's a lot of politics about where teams side in general, I think.
But I mean, also don't forget that the Honda deal is only exclusive to McLaren for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And they said they definitely want customer teams at some point. It's getting very, very messy. What happened to the good old days where, you know, someone like Peugeot were happy to supply one team as a works deal?
Yeah.
I don't know. Lamenting for the 90s as always.
90s
It's just I'd honestly see Red Bull pull out of F1 before moving into developing their own engines.
Yeah.
That's just me though.
Because you just think of, like, what do they get for pushing in all of that extra money for publicity for their energy drink? It's always got to come back to that. And so
Yeah, it
why
does. I
would
mean,
you?
at the end of the day, they have to pay the bills, and F1 is not going to be a profit-making business for them.
No.
You know, what they learn in F1 does not make them more capable of making a good energy drink. You know, oh, we've discovered tire wear issues at Malaysia, so now we make a much better blueberry flavor. You know, that's never something that's going to happen.
Yeah. No, I agree. And like, it costs enough to be in Formula One, and for whatever exposure they get, they're not going to want to up that bill for still getting the same amount of exposure, unless they can find some way of offsetting it with taking loads of teams with them. I could see.
Can you recall any of the engine development cost figures that were put out by teams?
Not off the top of my head, no.
It was an insane amount that Mercedes came
Yeah.
up with, recall.
Yeah.
Hundreds and hundreds of millions. And the fact that a single unit is built in the millions, you know, it's a hell of a risk to take.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of being, you know, you can be respectably competitive. You just probably won't win a world championship. And I know they're all there to win a world championship, but I mean, Jesus, it's too big an undertaking. I wouldn't recommend any team move towards building their own engines ever. Even old formulas, it just didn't make sense. I'm curious though. I part of me would like to see it happen, just for the novelty of having it happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this car is really, really understeering again.
I am.
I need to find my gap to Ericsson as well to see if there's any chance of that actually coming down.
So, the other big news this weekend: Ericsson and NASA staying at Sauber for
It
next year.
seems very early to make that decision, doesn't it?
It does. I'm just wondering how many times they can sell those seats off this year before
Yeah,
it actually happens. Who else
that's
will
true, actually.
say?
If you're going to sell it to someone else, then you do the first sale early in the season when everyone's forgotten about it.
Yep. So when we turn up at Spa, we'll see who's got the seats really, before then seeing at Monza who's actually got the seats.
I mean, this reminds me of what happened to Jarno Trulli at the end of his career, right? That he was told, yeah, he's definitely in a seat next season.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, actually, no, he's not. I mean, part of me thinks it's kind of a no-brainer because they've both been very competent for the most part. Looking at you, Ericsson.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they have been very competent. Nasser in particular, I feel, has been generally impressive.
Yep.
I can't see who else they would go for.
No, because
Unless they
Marcello's not really done the goods this year in GP2.
No,
And it's been a bit after like having some really impressive standout performances last year. He's done less this year, and so he's less of a bet. And actually, Sergei Sorokin is doing much better now in GP2. The Russian guy that they
yeah,
tried to
actually, he
stick
was
in.
always rumored to be going to Sauber, but I guess the money must have dried up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was a whole Russian investor thing that was going on, and so because that didn't happen, he's now racing GP2, but actually doing surprisingly well for someone that everyone was like, "Oh my god, how the hell is he gonna get into F1?" Because he's so young. Lol.
Max Verstappen, Roffelol.
Fetus.
I just, yeah, I just couldn't see who they could realistically go for. I mean, I'd love to see them take someone like Stevens or bring back Max Chilton.
Yeah.
Hashtag bring back Max Chilton.
Yes. How good was that to see Chilton win his debut on Indy Lights as well?
Yeah, well, I think it kind of shows what he's learned in his time in F1.
Yeah, yeah. And he was not a terrible driver at all. Bianchi was an impressively good driver, and I mean, I know everyone's opinions of someone's kind of gets a bit distorted once they've been involved in something that tragic, which I know is terrible to say, but sadly true.
It is
Um,
true.
but he was not horrifically off his pace, and in this 2014, I thought was actually matching him a lot of the time, and I think it's good that he's gone straight out to something else and stamped authority over it, as if to like remind people, yeah, I might have been at the back of the grid and I might have been like an in joke for 2 years, but I had talents to get me theirs.
He's someone I feel deserves another crack at F1. I just don't see it happening, unfortunately.
No, no.
Unless,
Especially now
he
Stevens has
comes into
taken over.
serious money, and then he kind of makes sense for a British team.
Yeah, yeah. Very marketable.
Hashtag Chilton to McLaren.
He's yeah, he's much more marketable than at the moment Mr. Stevens, because no one quite understands the Essex lingo unless you live here.
Yeah, I was going to say his accent is quite overpowering, isn't it?
He's proper miserable, which I think's hilarious, but might not get him far.
But Stevens is someone that I'm glad is in F1. I think he warrants a place in F1.
Yeah,
Certainly more so than Merry, and I'm glad to see it's Merry that's being lined up for the boot potentially.
definitely.
So another rumour is actually that Manor might be getting bought out by the Yanks. We talked about that briefly last week. Have you seen anything more from that?
No.
Me neither. So we'll write that off as bollocks then, shall we? File that under B for bollocks.
B for bollocks. Unless it's because it's going on.
I'm sort of curious to see what would be in it for an American investor. It's a UK team formerly owned by Russians. It's at the back of the grid. It's not in great shape. I'm sort of struggling to see what the advantage would be.
Yeah, it's like that old let's get access to all the infrastructure straight away and early, but maybe actually, when you look at it, is that always a good thing than building something up from the start?
Well, that's exactly what Asia Tech tried to do, and that didn't work out for them.
No.
Um, while we're on the subject of things that we can file under B for bollocks, Forza Rossa,
Yeah, what the hell is going on with that piece of bollocks?
the Romanian Ferrari dealership managed by a dentist.
Oh, please make that happen. Please make that happen.
It seems to have evaporated, hasn't it? Been no mention of it anywhere, and like Bernie must be embarrassed enough. At least he's got the common courtesy not to sort of mention it.
Mm-hmm.
And the media have been very obliging in forgetting about it. But Forza Rossa is still technically supposed to be entering F1 next year.
Yeah. But yeah, God knows what happened to it. Because actually, even if you like Google search it, there's hardly anything out there. Which almost makes me feel like, did we dream it? But no, there is some mention somewhere.
Once a month, I Google Forza Rossa just to see what happened. Nothing. Nothing comes up. I still Google Stefan GP as well occasionally.
Ah.
But he seems to have given up on that dream. And
what about Phoenix F1?
I think Stefan GP is a perfect example of someone being perfectly reasonable about coming into F1 and doing it right and not getting in simply because Bernie doesn't like you. Like, that's the only reason they weren't allowed to take that start. Bernie did not like him.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the matter. I pulled out a second over you last lap and then completely lost it on the subsequent lap.
Boo.
And I've murdered my tyres. How are yours?
A suspicious shade of yellow.
It'd be nice if I could sort of see a visual representation. We need to do the Dulux colour chart thing, and then you can say to me, Ben, at the moment, my tyres are Mocha Sunrise. And I can say, well, mine are Sunburst Orange. And then you can look at your Dulux colour chart, and I can look at mine, pinned lovingly to the side of our monitors, and we know exactly where each other stands.
Well, I've just given you a chunk of time with that. Yeah, mine looks like the yellow that you get when you sometimes get the yellow sauce in an Indian that you then pour over your starter.
Ah, now you see, mine is more. The fronts are kind of like an underripe tangerine, so it's barely orange. Whereas at the rear, I've got sort of the yellow that you see, I would say, most often on the away kit for the Scottish football team prior to that pink abomination that came out. That's the closest I can match it to, but I mean, it is obviously becoming oranger by the lap.
Blue flag? Oh no, he's gone into the pits, thank God for that.
I was going to say, if you're getting blue flagged, that's not encouraging. There was a yellow flag in front of me, but it seems to have been cleared.
Oh, hello, Ericsson.
I am rocking the P14. Obviously not going to last even slightly.
So for the second time, I've just overtaken Ericsson, who has pulled out. We was actually battling for position, I think. Now he's like an entire pit stop in front of me, so that's clearly not worked. What I find really interesting is that those that have pitted now have come back out again on the slower tyre.
Yeah, actually, I've just caught Sainz and Perez. Like, really caught them. And I'm on worn options.
Yep, same with Ericsson. That's showing to me that the AI are doing like proper ginger out laps. Because I've pulled out about 3 seconds on Ericsson, and I've nearly caught up to the back of Loldonado. I didn't even see him come out the pit lane.
I could have caught Sainz then, but I ran wide.
So, do we dare do another option stint or go for prime?
I'm going to try and go for another option because it seems to be the future, the way of the future.
Okay.
But don't let me words. Don't let me dictate your race strategy. You do what you need to do, buddy.
Okay,
I
pit
just want
windows
revenge on Sainz for Australia.
open. So
He is
you,
my Moby Dick.
so you pit in next lap, I'm assuming then.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't tell if Jeff just told me your tyres were in much better condition than mine or the car in front.
Well, he's just telling me that my tyres have reached the end of their life, which sounds quite fatal.
See, this is something I didn't expect. I thought I would be much worse on my tyres. I'm faster than the two cars in front in Sector 1. I know that because I'm right up his arse. I've got my caving helmet on, my canary in a cage.
Balunky!
See, this is where I'm going to end up frustrating myself because I am keeping pace with these two on really buggered tyres, and now I have to pit and let them get away. You win this round, Sainz. Again.
I'll get you next time, Gadget.
Carlos Sainz.
Crash, crash.
Well, it's good to see Toro Rosso haven't jumped the gun like Sauber have. Oh, we're double. Oh dear, we're double boxing.
Oh shit! I thought you was in next lap. Oh no! 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 Okay, so you're out.
Yeah.
Is that going to slow? Ooh, is a bit. Only a little bit. 4 seconds.
Mine was 2.674. Preferential, bitch.
I am such a number 2. Oh, and I've come out just behind a McLaren. 1 lap down. Behind a McLaren.
Yeah, I was going to say, that doesn't make sense.
Behind a Mercedes. I'm behind a McLaren as well.
Although Eric Bouyer is very much in favour of 3-car teams, maybe he just tried to sneak it through.
So, should there be a 3-car team, who would you stick in that third Mercedes?
Oh, now that is an excellent question. I'm very glad you asked that. A third Mercedes? Bottas!
Yeah? Not going to Ferrari?
No. I think I could see why Ferrari would want him and I could see why he would want to go, but I see him as being another Kimi, where being at somewhere like Ferrari will just kill him.
Yeah.
I think Mercedes is where it's at for him. But, he could go on and prove me wrong. It just doesn't seem like talented Finnish drivers and Ferrari are a good match. It's much harder, I think, to give away the third Ferrari seat because there's still a lot to be said for Hulkenberg having it. But then part of me thinks they just want someone younger, and then they've been interested in Ricciardo, but I don't see that happening.
No, it doesn't feel like a right match, like character-wise.
And they're still refusing to write off Kimi.
I don't get why. Get him out that car. It's just not worked for me.
There's debris on turn 1, so watch your tyres.
What's that, sorry?
There's debris on turn 1, watch your tyres.
Oh, okay, cheers.
It's not from me, by the way.
It's not?
No. It's from some other poor fucker.
Is it bad that I just assumed it was one of us?
Yeah.
Oh, hello. Is that rain down at turn 2? There's a massive dark crowd, and I swear there was a raindrop.
Why don't we ask Jeff? Consult the Jeff.
Oh, yellow flags ahead.
I am catching the Perez and the Verstappen.
The Perez. Verstappen's well off sequence.
I'm also being blue flagged while trying to perform an overtake, so that's going well.
I'm loving the sound of that.
Really? I'm not loving the reality. Do you know,
No one comes here for the performance.
No, don't. It's heartbreaking because I still love this game. I absolutely adore it, but there's just
it's
some
because
things that
Perez has gone off the track. He's lost his front wing, that's why.
Good. But I'm catching Verstappen. Notice now I've got Hamilton between me and him, which is not going to help my tyre wear issues. But I have DRS, inexplicably.
Go for it, dude.
That debris hasn't been cleared on turn 1. You will get a puncture as well if you go over it.
Yeah.
So we did promise last week that we were going to talk about the plans to improve the show for F1, and there's two schools of thought on this. You have Sebastian Vettel, who absolutely set against anything that changes the tradition of F1. Like, he wasn't even happy in Monaco with the grid boys. He said that any change to the Saturday qualifying Sunday race format to him wouldn't really represent F1. Whereas Lewis Hamilton's come out in favour of maybe having 2 sprint races, doing things differently. He says he doesn't plan to adhere to that race format for the next 9 years or whatever, which is a big claim that he's going to be in F1 that long. I don't think he will. But then this gave rise to talk of a women's only race.
Oh, no.
No need for me to ask you what your opinion of that is then.
No, stop it, Carmen Jorda, with your shitty comments. Just because you're 12 seconds off the pace in qualifying at Spa in GP2.
Well...
Ooh. Nearly spun it, sorry. No. How awful would that be for gender equality?
Well, it would, because, I mean, Susie Wolff, they asked her opinion on it, and she's against it. And she said it's one of the few sports where the physical differences between men and women is not an impediment. And they can compete on a perfectly even field. And as soon as you separate women from men, you're kind of... It's just another way of keeping women in their box, really.
Yeah. I don't see that at all. And no. And I'm just trying to unlap myself from Rosberg. This isn't going... Yeah, so... no, I think that is an awful move. And because as soon as you separate that out, how on earth do you ever get someone back in again? And how will you ever have this whole we're all equal, really?
Exactly. You're forever separating those things.
Yeah.
And you're right, it's a move that won't ever be reversed. Jeff just called me mate.
Is that because you're number 1 today?
It's because we're bonding, because he said, he called me mate twice. He said, nice overtake, you made it look easy, mate. And then he congratulated me on my tyres not being ribbons.
Aww.
With a cheeky mate thrown in for fun.
I'm loving that it is getting cloudy. Can this not hurry the fuck up? And pissed out with rain floods.
Yeah, I really want us to have a proper changeable race. Ideally one that goes dry, wet, dry. That would be where the entertainment comes in. But anywho, the race format, are you in favour of shorter sprint races, or having 2 races, or having races for young drivers?
Heavy rain in 10 minutes, so it'll miss us. So I am not... I like the fact that you have these long races. And I like the race length. It seems nice to me. I would welcome sprint and feature. I don't see anything wrong with that, but there needs to be something fundamentally different that makes the sprint a sprint. So, like, you can't change tyres, or there is no fuel mix mode or something like that. And like, do the points are they the same? Because they are in other formula, and I've never quite thought that actually that is right because it's a shorter race, or is that actually the point is that you've got to make it count? There's a lot of kind of inner workings that go on behind the scenes of what actually would a sprint and a feature thing look like.
I mean, I know why Lewis wants sprint races. He wants races where tyre conservation isn't a thing.
Yeah.
And he just wants to be able to race, and he thinks that'll bring the spice back to F1, and maybe it would. But to me, it just goes against. F1's always been a thinking man's motorsport. It's always been a long game kind of sport. It's never been an immediate return kind of deal. And I'd hate it to become that.
I think it's also in danger of looking like, how do we want to deal with American culture that is now becoming world culture, where I want a computer game like experience where there's 20 cars all battling into one corner, smashing into each other, because we're slightly more demanding on, I want entertainment now every goddamn second, whether that is faked or not. And then because it's gone down that route with all of these extra things, moving away from the thinking to the doing, actually what we've done is create such a false sense of enjoyment and racing that it's no longer a satisfying experience, which I think is for something else entirely.
I agree with you, but something that struck me at the British Grand Prix was that we always bitch and moan, I suppose, about current F1, but have you noticed, like, what everyone consistently said was we want more overtaking, and now you have overtaking by the bucket load.
Yeah.
And people still aren't happy. Like, I've got to the point where I even actually think DRS is kind of okay. Like, you know, if what you want is people racing on track and having overtaking, I mean, because what people always said they wanted overtaking, they didn't want racing. And, you know, that was probably read as meaning there is rain, by the way.
Yes.
It probably, for most people, was taken to mean defensive racing is not entertaining.
Yeah.
We only care about offensive racing.
Yeah. There is rain. I love it. I love it. And I've passed Verstappen. For now.
Rosberg is so slow.
Yeah, see, I was trying to get back past him again, and then I dropped off, and now I'm having the same issue with Vettel. They get in front of me, and then they seem to just, like, flollop it.
Because it's knackering my front tyres. I'm way faster than him. This doesn't make any sense.
It's like they've auto-adjusted to the fact that it's a bit soggy and can't cope. Because I want to now unlap myself from Vettel, and I can't.
The problem is the rain's come at the worst time as well. There is no way in which pitting...
I'll be interested to see if some of the AI do it, though.
Actually, though, I am breaking grip when I put the power down. Are you?
No. I am skidding a lot, though.
I would let the car behind me pass, but guess what? He doesn't want to pass me.
Oh, fuck off. Is that a 3-second penalty just because I ran wide?
Cody's have work to do.
Right, I need to get 3 seconds over Verstappen, otherwise I'm going to actually cry.
Well, no one wants that. That would be tragic.
As I run completely wide.
Yeah, that lap was 2.5 seconds slower. Thank you, Rosberg.
I was 2.3. So this, in theory, is the last lap for us.
It's a shame the rain came when it did. That could have, if that had come sort of lap 10, this could have been a belter.
Yeah. However, I'm loving this final lap. Skidderoo.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, actually, if this wasn't the last lap, I'd probably go put some intermediates on.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
would now.
Rosberg's really slowed.
Oh, I've just hit Vettel. And again.
Good. Keep it up.
But I need to get past him because I need to get this 3 second. Make sure I've got 3 seconds over Verstappen. Which I think I have, to be fair now.
Oh my god, I'm super close to Ericsson. I can take him for 14th. Come on.
Oh, do it, do it. Do it for honour.
Oh, lightning.
Yeah, the lightning on the dark tracks is amazing.
I've taken him.
Oh, and I can see Raikkonen now. Oh, why didn't this happen like 2 laps ago? We would have been lolling. Oh, I need to crash it down the straight.
Apparently, there's a lot of engineers out in the pits.
Yeah, people are pitting. Ericsson's pitted. Oh,
I got 14th.
Can I get him? Can I get him? Can I get him? Can I get him? Oh, I'm in the barrier. Oh, fuck it. He's gone past the start finish straight before I got to him. Oh, I'm loving that.
Oh, do you know if that had happened earlier, we would have really gained.
Yeah.
We were much better in the wet than they were. Well, we both gained places, which doesn't usually happen.
Yeah. Not last of everyone. Clearly romped back past Verstappen. Perez had no front wing, so that's why he was nowhere. You got Ericsson at the end, who I don't think had any problems at all. Oh, Grosjean, 5 second penalty.
Good. Actually, I got boosted to 13th. Why did that happen? Why did Pastor Maldonado end up behind me?
I wonder if he was the one that pitted then and not Ericsson.
Oh yeah, he must have gone into the pits.
Idiot.
That's Pastor all over that, isn't it?
It's probably the best bit of AI I've seen so far.
Well, I mean, it wasn't ideal, but can I say I was happy with that? Like, all through the first 3 quarters of the race, I wasn't happy with my performance, but like I was saying when we were actually making the bloody video, it's a long return on investment, Formula One.
Yes.
And what we saw there was the result of that.
I tell you what was really mega interesting is that everyone from fifth down pitted for Inters, except for us, Ericsson, Verstappen and Perez, who all had fresher tyres because we were doing alternate strategies.
This is what we wanted all along, though, right?
Yeah.
We wanted dynamic strategy.
Yeah.
So it turned out we made the right decision, just the rain came at the wrong time for us to capitalise fully.
Yeah.
If it had come in the second stint, our first option stint, we would have been golden because we would have made up all those places we made up now.
Yeah.
Prior to the second pit stop.
And also, when you're looking at the fastest lap times, actually, once again, in terms of raw pace, we aren't terrible. You're in the thick of it, actually. You were faster than Sainz.
I can't see those times.
Oh, your best time, sorry, is a 1:43.5. So you were faster than Maldonado, Ericsson, Verstappen, Perez, and Sainz, and only 2 tenths behind Kvyat and Hulkenberg. So you're there on merit. I was faster than Perez.
What was your fast time?
43.8. So you were 3 tenths faster.
That was lap 21. I love that I can select your name, press A, and see your sector and lap times for every lap you did.
Yeah. Let's have a. Is that the view profile button?
No. You need to be on the driver's incidents menu. And where it shows what tyres everyone was on and their current status, and you select any driver and you can see their sector time.
View lap times. Yeah.
It works for AI as well. So I'm just going to take a look quick and see if you can see where the tyres went.
That's a good point.
I don't know what happened lap 12.
What for you?
Yeah.
That was your pit.
Oh yeah, it would have been, wouldn't it? Fucking idiot.
But interestingly, the lap before I won 51.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Yeah, that was in sector 3, isn't it? Oh, but that would have been because I was
Oh,
coming in.
yeah. There you go.
Actually, what I'm
Double
surprised
dribble.
about is, if you look, my times were actually relatively consistent.
Mm-hmm. And if
Consistency wasn't too bad.
no, not at all. And see, I lose like so. Oh, mind you, it was getting wet on that one anyway. I was gonna say I lose 3 seconds, and they penalise me 3 anyway. Cheers, my dears.
Actually, I didn't check. Did you manage to maintain position that you did in front of Verstappen?
Yeah.
So you must have had a 6-second gap to him.
So my my lollishness is that I lost on lap 2 and on lap 6 about 10 seconds each time, which would have had us in a right squibbly squabbly do.
Yeah, do you know, if we hadn't have come together on lap 6, you and me could have been 13th, 14th.
So
And
that's good for the future, though.
It's very hard to say, really, who had the legs in the race, because so far I've been better on one lap pace, but your race seems to be generally stronger. That would have been good. That would have been good. Next time, we'll have to make sure not to hit each other. Although, to be honest, we never normally hit each other, do we?
No. But I'm finding with this game, actually, sometimes spatial awareness is causing me a bit of an issue because I can't. There's so much going on in able to control the car that I've not got the capacity in my brain to be looking around as well.
Well, that and trying to listen to Jeff and use the menus and stuff all
Yeah.
coming together at once. I mean, I don't think I was shifting my brake balance, but at least I was considering it at that point. And I actually thought we'd had a very clean run because you took me on turn 14.
Yep.
And then it was the subsequent turn that I came back at you.
Yes.
And
I was still
originally,
on the outside.
I got past you, right? And then we made contact. And I couldn't figure out if it's when I put the boot down, if the end kicked out and hit your nose, or if you coming off the curb had come into me.
Yeah.
But we'll see what the adjudicators in the comments say on that.
Yes. Put your steward's inquiries down below, and one of us will get 50 lashings. The other one will get 50 litres
Other
of
lashings.
ciders. Yeah. Just get lashed 50 times. Oh dear. Well, that's it for the Malaysia Grand Prix. We'll be back for more F1 shenanigans, where we can talk more a bit about the Hungarian race, the Grand Prix weekend, and some more about what we would do to improve the show of Formula One. As always, we'd like to hear your comments and suggestions. Do leave them below. We always appreciate them. And we look forward to being back on air, battling over lower ends of the positions very, very soon. So bye for now.
Take care.